Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman, Dr. Scott Bradley, freedomsrisingsun.com. Check out his award-winning collegiate series, To Preserve the Nation, available at freedomsrisingsun.com. While you're there, also sign up and grab your ticket for the incredible Thursday evening weekly webinars. Every Thursday evening, 7 Mountain, 9 Eastern. People pop in their questions, and the good doctor answers them from a constitutional perspective. Great stuff every Thursday. And then on Fridays, he's on the TV and radio with me, and we usually break down and summarize and talk about some of those topics and kind of what the consensus or the understanding was at the end of the day. So just great stuff, all available at freedomsrisingsun.com. If you want to check out his webinars after the fact, look for Freedom's Call, and you can check that out all over the place. Rumble, what do they call that thing? BitChute, and several places like that. So check all that out. Would like to wish you a very Merry Christmas as well. 2 U.S. Army soldiers, and they say an American civilian who was an interpreter, I guess, were murdered. Killed, they say, in an attack in Syria, the Department of War reported. The incident occurred, I guess there were ISIS counter-terrorism operations underway. 3 others were wounded in the attack. That's according to the Pentagon spokesman, Sean Parnell. The assailant, they say, responsible for the attack was killed by what are called partner forces. U.S. and civilian forces were joined together and were patrolling when attacked. And anyway, it was confirmed by U.S. Central Command. President Trump and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth basically issued statements saying, hey, we're going to retaliate big time for this. This is unacceptable. I've got some questions, Doctor. Do you want to respond before I ask my questions, though?
Oh, what a tragic travesty. I mean, the loss of these people, and the loss is far wider than you say, oh, just a few lives. I mean, you look at the spouses, the children, the family members, the loss to society, and everything else like that. The whole thing is wrong from the beginning. The United States has got boots on the ground, has had for years in Syria. We continue to hold territory there from the Assad years. And the likelihood that the individual that committed these murders was part of our partner forces. And then you say, well, he's got some ISIS connections, whatever. Who the heck is in charge in Syria right now, except for the Al-Qaeda ISIS crew? I mean, all of this stuff, I mean, you're splitting hairs when you say...
Well, and Donald Trump said ISIS was created by Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, so, maybe they lead the organization.
Well, so was Al-Qaeda. I mean, you stop and think about it. We create, fund, train, encourage our best enemies. I mean, we've been doing this for decades, almost a century, with the communist nonsense that's been going on in Russia and China and so on. But what we do, we have, and they've lied to us from the beginning. They say 900 troops. Well, 900 troops. Yeah, well, it's a little underestimated. We got armor there. We got infantry there. We're holding oil fields. We are holding agricultural area. And we have partner crews we go in with. And then one of them oftentimes ends up popping a few rounds and killing Americans. And Americans are just a target. That's all there is to it. We should not be there. You say, oh, Bradley, don't you support the troops? Yeah, I do. Let's not put them in harm's way when they don't have a justifiable constitutional authority to do so.
And that
so
leads
this
kind of
whole
my
thing,
questions, Dr. Bradley, about this thing. First off, the Constitution grants Congress alone the power to authorize war or anything related to it. They control the purse strings, etc. There is no declaration of war. There's no specific authorization from Congress for this one. The continued deployment of U.S. troops in Syria therefore lacks constitutional authority. Executive interpretation and, quote, congressional silence cannot, I report not, ladies and gentlemen, substitute for lawful authorization. Just can't do it. It's not only illegal according to the Constitution, but even if you look at international law, the use of military force without lawful authority constitutes what's called unlawful aggression. Refusing to recognize the international courts on this or anything else, hey, you can do that, But when military force violates both domestic and international provisions, then what? And that's really what we're facing right now, is that Congress has been sidelined. The president allows this to happen. I thought Donald was going to get the troops out. I don't know why we have people in Syria in the first place. And so our people died. But when we say we're going to have extreme retribution or extreme accountability for this, what does that mean? Does that mean more troops on the ground? Does that mean we're just going to start assassinating people while we're on the ground? What does that really mean, Doctor?
Well, that's the problem. This is a kind of an ever-expanding web of deceit that's happening here, and we use whatever excuse, and whether they're real or not, we fabricate our excuses most of the time. Weapons of mass destruction, Saddam and Hussein. Anyway, yeah, I mean, we can create whatever justification we want. I mean, these fishing boats, potentially, I don't know what they are, they're off of Venezuela. Every time we turn around, it's like, oh, look, if the jets that were flying over the Gulf of Venezuela for a half an hour or whatever it was, if someone had taken a pot shot at them, suddenly we would have been justifying in all the full force and effect of the American military. And we just keep creating the excuses to go violate further international, further domestic law. And there's nobody ever calls them out on this thing. What's the difference between our American lives being lost in this particular instance and in the withdrawal from Afghanistan? Oh, there's a few less people killed, but it's just as wrong. And Biden his administration is still getting a rash over how those 12 Americans
were killed. And we
can't
blame this on Biden. Trump's been there for what?
Well,
11 months now?
Trump was there. He was shooting Tomahawk missiles there when he was in his first administration.
Right. And
this
so
is
saying,
something.
even now in this term, he hasn't done anything to stop it. Or I don't know why we have troops there. Why don't we just get out? We just came one day. Can't we leave one day?
Yeah. Well, you walked right in, walked right out again. We shouldn't have walked in to begin with. But okay, so we killed 3 Americans. Okay, that's 1/4 of what were killed with the Afghan withdrawal. What was a mess there with that is a mess here with this.
And we're not saying either's okay, folks. Don't misunderstand
No.
We're not saying the loss of life doesn't matter or that it's a minimal number of people. We're not saying that. What we're trying to do is give you comparative reality, where the Republicans riot when it was Biden, and now, hey, the shoe's on the other foot, and now it's a different tune, and that's the problem that we're having, right?
Well, and the way you hold your mouth, I mean, I could take this far afield, Sam, and I never would do anything like that, as you know, but if you stop and think about what these Venezuelan fishing boats or whatever they are, that we don't have any real justification, and certainly in international law and domestic law, UCMG, Uniform Code of Military Justice, and so on and so forth, treatment of prisoners of war, Congress is involved, supposed to be on that, all that kind of stuff. And we get a half a dozen maybe Republicans that had a private briefing with the War Department, and they're saying, yeah, I support this. What in tarnation gives them any authority to say, because those half dozen or dozen or however many there were, give their wink and a nod to it to continue it? That does not constitute constitutional authority. War is the most onerous thing that happens on a nation, and there's checks and balances. There's a process that they go through, none of which have been followed for multiple administrations now.
And I understand. I'm going to play the devil's advocate for a second, because I just want to get your take on this. What a lot of people will say is, Sam, listen, we're under assault everywhere. We're the communist Chinese, by all these enemies who hate us, by drug traffickers, by an illegal human invasion, by drug gangs on our streets, and by possible terrorist cells that have crossed the border illegal. We have no time, Sam. We have to just double down and get this done. Everybody's so evil. There's secret combinations everywhere. We've got to do something. I mean, just step back, Sam. Quit being so rash. Quit focusing on every jot and tittle of this thing. We don't have time for all that. I mean, I believe in the Constitution, of course, Dr. Bradley, but don't you understand? This is kind of like crazy. We've got to do something. The bad guys, the secret combinations are everywhere, and so we got to do something. Come on, just lay off and let's get back to that after we deal with this, pardon the pun, emergency. That's what a lot of even conservatives are saying right now, right?
Well, the conservatives are saying that because Donald Trump's involved, the quote unquote conservatives. They're not conservatives. They're not people that stand with principle. Well, the principles they stand for are erred. But the point of the matter is, everything you have brought up has a legal, lawful, constitutional response that can be done with that thing. We don't burn the Constitution down just because somebody's hyperventilating. Well, somebody's good idea, created or not, does not authorize the violation of that. And we can solve all of those things if they will take the proper steps and follow the sound foundation that was originally created.
Yeah, Congress would have to actually have to get to work. Thanks for being alongside for the ride. For Dr. Scott Bradley, freedomsrisingsun.com, yours truly, we are syndicated by the Loving Liberty Networks, lovingliberty.net. Spread the word, share the love, and God save our constitutional republic.